Why does Outmanned work? That's the question. A second question would be, why do I show 2 versus 2 fight in an Outmanned video? To answer this, I need to show you a fight we have lost, so you can see why we lost and I can show it as a contrast to the fights we win. Notice, enemy hits didn't really connect until I got immobilized during this fight. An enemy Mesmer uses stealth to drop the target, so I can't target him easily, and I can reposition myself using blink, use mass invisibility, and buy me some time. Notice what happens next. I pull an enemy using a crowd control skill, immobilize him, and use extreme burst damage on him. This burst worked because I was able to immobilize my enemy, and in the same vein a warrior managed to immobilize me and I got downed too. The warrior is tanky, so Mardis is able to use Shadow Refuge over me to heal me back, and the warrior can't really stop it because he doesn't have the damage to stop us. But I can stop his raising using my own crowd control. The situation was simply perfect, but I make horrible mistakes, so I was able to fall down and lose the advantage we have gained. Notice, warrior is tanky, so we downed the Mesmer first. I got downed because immobilize, but with Mardis we mined each other's locations, so I was able to get raised by his Shadow Refuge. Back to the fight, Mesmer stuns me, I lose a stunbreaker, and warrior immobilizes me. Because of immobilize, I cannot dodge, I can't weapon swap, I can't distort, in short, I am screwed. What killed me? I lost my active defenses, and I was too close to enemies. In short, immobilize killed me. In this fight, T calls me because she wants to stop enemies camping the third party camp. She plays the support thief in soldier armor, but enemies think she will be the glacier one, so they tend to focus her, not me. The camp belongs to the third side. This is 2 versus 4. With T we have selected a guardian to kill first, which might not have been the best choice ever, but we have sticked to this particular enemy. Notice, enemies are not really using immobilizes or crowd control of any type, and we are moving a lot, so enemies run a lot, not being able to hit us consistently. All the time we are fighting a particular guardian, moving away from him, only to jump in, deal damage, jump out, switch to ranged weapon, and fight over there. We keep on a single target all the time, and try to jump away when our hit points get slow. We always have a stunbreaker ready. Even if one of us is low on hit points, we aren't really scared, because enemies neither have high burst, nor they use crowd control. In the same time, I am using crowd control and T is not invisible all of the time. Why? Because if she was invisible, enemies would focus me. Even if it seems that all is vain because enemy managed to heal completely, it isn't really so because guardians have cooldowns. Notice that even if this is 2 versus 4, it doesn't feel like it. Enemies are tanky, T is tanky, I am burst. We both are highly mobile, so we can decide to attack a particular target we have selected. In the same time, enemies spread fire and do not focus any of us. If they focused T, she would drop aggro by stealthing. If they focused me, I would blink and run away fast. What is more, they are tanky, so they deal much less damage than we deal. I haven't raided in guild versus guild scenarios, but I have seen several fights, and I have noticed a very important thing is to strip enemy stability and crowd control him. This is why tank builds work, because if you do not have this crowd control, you don't use it, then people like me with high mobility or stealthy builds like thieves are able to move away from you and you won't be able to pinpoint and catch them. Then berserkers will be able to deal more damage to soldier armor users, and if the target will be selected, a tank will fall. Notice this wasn't really a 2 versus 4 fight because enemies did not focus on any of us and split. Sometimes they didn't focus any of us. And this really is a pattern of some of those Outmanned videos you will see on YouTube. A single player will have either stealth or high mobility, like for example Blink, some boon protections, and enemies won't be able to use crowd control, either because they can't select a target and pinpoint him because of stealth or long range, or because the player has stability, or because the player has a lot of stunbreakers. Notice how we managed to split this fight into smaller ones, and how we used mobility as a defense tool. I think this ends the interesting part of this clip. Sometimes your enemies are both more bursty and more coordinated. In this fight, my ally is a very bursty thief and we are fighting 5 enemies. I did not notice enemy thieves and I got downed before I even managed to blink. Dev did the correct thing here. He didn't try to res me, he tried to stomp an enemy to rally me. Now, in the previous clip, I was saying that Soldier's armor is not the best armor ever because Berserker will be able to destroy a soldier, right? It is not black and white. If here enemies were Soldier, all of them, this wouldn't have happened and I would have died in horrible ways. Blink and mass invisibility were used to create distance and reassess the situation. All enemies focused on death, so I was able to attack from behind. Not that I could do much at this point, I have made a mistake and moved too far away. Enemies were using crowd control, so Death got downed. I couldn't rally him, but I could resurrect him, so I had to use distortion. Afterwards, distance generator. Now, notice this. To resurrect your allies, you will use the same tools as you used to stomp your enemies. Some kind of stability or some kind of invulnerability. The part here is quite important. I've got some type of very low hit points and I have managed to down an enemy thief. I stay behind, recovering, regenerating hit points, waiting for my cooldowns, because I won't be able to help anyone if I get downed by that thief. Notice this, enemies are focusing Death as the main target, because Death deals so many damage, they can't really allow him to play freely and focus on me. This is an indirect gain a bursty builds give you. This is pressure defense. But if all players in party are high burst ones with no survivability, then you have a problem because nobody can resurrect or nobody can stomp an enemy. One important thing for consideration. If enemies play well and are determined, no matter how good you are, you will get downed. Period. This is a 2 vs 5 which quickly becomes 3 vs 5 scenario. Because the party composition is different, the strategy is different too. We managed to down one enemy and this place becomes a kill zone. By kill zone I understand we all focus all AoEs or cleaves in this particular area. This is how you can create a pressure on your enemies to drop their active defenses and to get more downed from several players. If you do not have anyone able to resurrect an ally, consider making a kill zone near your downed player. I mean, near a player you want to resurrect. That way you might be able to down your enemy who is trying to stomp without distortion or other source of invulnerability. During this fight we have an initiative. That means that we are dealing high damage and there is always someone downed on enemy side, so they can't really regroup and do anything to us. They need to try to keep their allies alive, and we simply need to deal as much damage as possible, and we know where they will be. This also means they can't really run away, they can't really regroup, they can't really damage us, or form any more complex plan than "my ally is dying, I need to res him now." This is important because if we have an initiative, the more bursty we are, the better for us. Notice that during this fight, enemies are using crowd control skills, Fear and Immobilize. Look at my bar, I don't have anything really which I can destroy binding roots with, and I can't cleanse conditions at this moment, so I am kind of trapped. Now they should focus me, but they can't. Mass invisibility was used to drop target, and the rest is, I think, history. Notice, enemies weren't bad, they were able to cooperate with each other, they were able to help each other, but because we had initiative and we were able to down them in the beginning, we have controlled this fight from the beginning to the end. Immobilize is evil. One more important tool in your arsenal is to know when you can win and you can't win. And pulling, of course. By pulling, I mean acting in a way that some enemies will come after you, but not all of them. If all enemies run after you, then, well, you have to run away. But if only some of them come, you will be able to give them a fight. If you asked me how to pull effectively, I would tell you I have no idea. I simply attack and hope something sticks. Here, we didn't manage to coordinate well between each other, so my friends thought I am running away while I was trying to pull someone only. Well, that's what we get for not using voice chat. Situation became dangerous, so I teleported away to get distance. Now, there were lots of enemies attacking the tower while we were attacking the tower, and only a few of them followed us here. This means that either we manage to destroy those enemies before the reinforcements come, or we will have to face the whole army of them. We failed to focus fire this time, we didn't select a target, and we didn't play together, we played as 3 players versus a group of players, so we didn't manage to destroy anything. Compare this fight, this part of the fight, to the previous fights. Additionally, Catrice is a condition player. I am a burst player. It doesn't really mesh in terms of fast killing. If we're observing the tower, it was green. Now it is red. It means our time ran out. I have a thief on my tail, an enemy thief, which means I had to blink, I had to dodge to recover, but I didn't manage to catch him in the Blood Frenzy combo and Signal of Domination, so it was a bad situation. Catrice used the blinding powder to save me from the danger. Notice that we inform each other of skills we are using which will affect others by pinging them in chat. The enemy team we are facing right now is 3 thieves and 1 mesmer. Not a good team to fight against, especially if you are 3. Notice my general strategy here. I am moving a lot, I am teleporting a lot, I am forcing my enemies to use up the initiative to be able to catch up to me. Here, a mistake on my part, I got downed. I should have used distortion shutter here. Fortunately, my allies are completely aware of my position and they are able to keep me alive, to get me up, really. This is another very interesting topic. We do not have to play very well individually as long as we cooperate as a team very well. You can say anything, but not that this is my best fight ever. A mesmer got downed, but a venom-sharing thief shared venoms with a thieves guild, which managed to down me eventually a moment later. But this is the point. I have taken 2 people onto myself while my allies were able to work on 1 enemy thief. And this is what it is all about. My goal was only to buy some time so they can work on 1 enemy, and this is a race. Either my enemies manage to down me and stomp me before my allies manage to down and stomp their enemy. I made a general mistake here. I should have moved away much further so enemies have to run more and can't down me so easily, but it doesn't matter. We managed to stomp enemy before enemy managed to stomp us. Important thing, very often players tend to give up when they get downed and do not fight for every second while being stomped. Don't do that. Always fight for every second, delay the stomp as much as possible. What is the moral of this fight? It is better to run and not deal damage if you have more enemies on you than to get downed a lot.